Everybody, going into English for our next speaker, who's Friedman, who's the Vice President for the Eastern Mediterranean at Noble Energy.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate being invited to come here. Just a little bit about Noble Energy. Some of you may know all this. Corporate headquarters in Houston, Texas. We began trading as a public company in 1972 and first international production in 1990. Our daily production is about 210,000 barrels of oil equivalent. We have a current enterprise value of about $17 billion and about 1,700 employees. Of those 1,700 employees, about 50 are here in Israel.
Now? Wow. Feels so powerful. So, forgive me for one thing, the slides that we see is a bit of a hodgepodge of the slides, and it tends to be these things get created for analyst presentations, so everything sort of looks like a Noble commercial, so forgive me for that. But the point of this slide is just sort of where we are. We're about, I guess a couple of years ago I was saying we're about half oil and half gas, about half domestic and half international. And that's a little bit gassier and a little bit more international now that we are here. We have reserves at the end of last year of 1.1 billion barrels equivalent. And this is kind of the split up of our volumes. About 210,000 barrels of oil a day equivalent split up between gas and liquids in this way. It's about an even split of international and U.S. natural gas. We have four core operating areas, and by far, if you look at our reserve base and our activity base, our capital spend, it's in these areas. The onshore United States is just north of Denver, Colorado, and it's in an area we call the DJ Basin, where we have a lot of horizontal wells in the Niobrara Formation, and that's where we're very active. It's oil, it's gas and associated condensate. And that's a big area for us. It's very, very different from here. We drill a well every 90 days up there in that, and so it turns into a great big area that's a completely different operation, obviously, in deep water. So also deep water Gulf of Mexico and West Africa, both of these are deep water plays, and both are oil and gas. And then of course Eastern Mediterranean. So by far, and it's not quite an even split. Onshore U.S. and Eastern Mediterranean are a little bit bigger than the other two, but that's kind of how we're split up. So here's where we have deep water rigs active now. So we have, this is on the Santiago well, the Insco 8501 in the Gulf of Mexico. Of course, the two rigs that you're familiar with in the Eastern Mediterranean, Pride North America, and is on Leviathan, and Sedco Express is on Tamar. And then in West Africa, we have the Pride South Pacific, and that's on our Asing project in West Africa. So just a little bit about sort of where we are, and you've seen this in a lot of different ways already, but we came to Israel in 1998, discovered Noah in 1999, and Mary V in 2000. Andromeda, and I saw you mentioned Andromeda and Hannah before in 2001 and 2002, respectively. They were dry holes. And Tamar and Delete was discovered in 2009, early 2009, with Leviathan, the discovery of Leviathan in 2010. And our activity in 2011 is a lot of activity. Appraisal on Leviathan, development drilling on Tamar, and continued exploration this year. So just a little bit about our operations. Back to Mary V. Mary V was discovered in 2000, and the initial IEC contract was in 2001. Our first production was not until 2004. And if you look at this over those early years of production, basically that's power plants being converted to natural gas. And so that was, we basically had the same capability of about 6 BCMA from the beginning, and then we had a ramp up here of the production as the power plant conversions happen. And I was not around then myself, but I just think that what happened there was, I think that we took a leap of faith that this would happen. And I think IEC took a leap of faith that we would happen. And so I think it's a really good story, but that's kind of the build-up there that happened. Here's something I like to show to just sort of give a little bit of a view into a bit of our world. We answer a lot of questions by stock analysts. You said your production was going to be a certain level, and it's a slightly different level. Give us all the reasons for that, and we sort of live in that, unfortunately. This is actually a bit of a driver for our production. So it's the kind of thing that we actually track and we actually look at. And last year was an interesting year in 2010. In 2010, our production was lower in the first quarter than what we had projected it to be. And a lot of it, we've got questions about that, got lots of questions about that. And obviously the big thing is Egyptian imports is very difficult to predict and very difficult to project. But aside from that, look at the mild weather that you had in 2010 compared with the past year. And so that's what we were saying. We were saying it's mild weather, and so that's one of the reasons for our production being what it is. And then if you remember last August, I mean, look at the departure from the trend last August, and you probably all remember it well. And so we were saying our production is above what we thought it would be in August, and again, this is one of the reasons why. So I know one of the challenges that we had at that same time, right about in there, is where we were trying to do the things on Mary B to actually augment our ability to deliver. And unfortunately, we had some downtime with that. We were trying to do it at night and on Shabbat and everything else, trying to get it all done. So the timing on that was not the best. And here are the things that we did to Mary B. The two big things that we did was we drilled wells 9 and 10, which were big diameter wells with 7-inch production casing, which I've never really seen before in my career. All with the idea of absolutely maximizing deliverability. We were not increasing the reserves of Mary B, just the deliverability. So we drilled 2 extra wells in there with great big production casing, and it worked extremely well. And then the next thing we just got finished with, I'm a happy guy because we put 3 of these big compression modules on Mary B and stacked them up there, and just only now are commissioning gas through those compressors. So we've had some downtime. We've been closely working that with IEC, and we've been crossing our fingers that all that goes okay, and the guys have done a fantastic job with that. And we just commissioned these 3. It's 3 15,000 horsepower compressors now sitting up on the deck of Mary B. We just got them up, and we're going to continue to work well. One of the things that we show whenever we talk to people about how Israel is different for us than most places we see is something that you're familiar with already, which is that there's just no storage. When we talk to people that are used to the Gulf of Mexico, they don't understand this concept that we have here where we're so tight-lined into the electricity market. It's something you hardly ever see. And here's just a couple of examples of that. Here's October the 2nd of 2010. Look at the change of our rate. That's 6 BCM, and that's about 2. That's between noon and midnight. And so what that means, whenever that's our sales, we're actually out there on Mary B turning that production back. And then in the morning, we're turning it back on and cutting it back. That's something that's very different for an operator. And we do what we do. It's very different. And the other thing that we kind of point to that's different that we have to explain to people is that because of the swing, because of all that, because of the swing in the year, this is 2010, across Mary B across 2010, and we sold about 3.2 gross, about 3.2 BCMA for 2010, and our productive capacity was 6. And so we have to build 6 to be able to sell 3. So that's another thing that just, again, it is what it is, and it's because of this swing. It makes it very different. And then sort of wrap up with Mary B Field. You're familiar with these. If you want to see, because of the compression work that's going there, I noticed that the picture they pulled on that actually has our temporary heliport up here. And that's because of all the work going on with the crane just before that compression got installed. But so there's the Ashdod terminal, and there's Mary B. We're very proud of Mary B. We're very proud of what it's done. It supplies fuel for about 20% of the electricity generation. And if you compare it to fuel oil, which it displaced, the savings to the economy, the savings of that, the burning the natural gas over the fuel oil is over $5 billion since we came on in 2004. So a massive impact, a very positive impact. And the other thing we're proud of